What is going on? Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another video of me rambling in the office chair. This video is an important one because it kind of signifies a little bit of the shift that I have had in my own training methodologies, but I also think it's something a lot of people need to hear. And today we're going to discuss training at home versus training in a commercial or a private gym space. Now, just to add a little bit of context to this, when I first started personal training, this very room right here, which is now my office, was the space that I used to train. It was a little gym. I had a pull-up bar, I had a few kettlebells, well, a lot of kettlebells, and I had a few dumbbells as well. I trained out of this space exclusively, probably for about 2 years. I also started training my very first clients there, and if you were lucky enough to be on the receiving end of my newbie coaching, where you were paying £10 an hour, you would get to come into my front room and sling some kettlebells about. And to be honest, I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was super accessible. We were in lockdown at the time, and so naturally gyms weren't open. And I had my own little kind of cave where I could just come in, put the tunes on dead loud. I wasn't waiting for any equipment. Things were really good. I was training and I was getting stronger. It wasn't until I moved to Sweatbox Gym in Bootle, which if you're outside of Liverpool is just kind of a borough in Liverpool, that I realised how much my training had really been lacking. I had trained exclusively with kettlebells, and bear in mind, I had a massive selection of them. Obviously, I was Strong First SFG1 and SFG2 certified, and I was proper kettlebell wanker. Like, I thought they were the be all and end all, and I was essentially trying to forge my ideology based off of what I had available to me, right? I only had kettlebells and a pull-up bar and a bench, and that was it. So I was doing chest presses with kettlebells, I was doing all kinds of shit which I would just never really recommend anymore. But when I made that change to the gym, something shifted inside me, and there was a little bit of a feeling of almost shame and guilt, because I realized how underexposed a lot of my clients were to the world of training. They could only view training through my lens, right? And my lens was that kettlebells are the best. They help you with mobility, they help you with strength, they're accessible. And so I naturally attracted a lot of clients who wanted to work out from home, or who weren't really particularly interested in lifting really heavy weights. And as such, I created this little mini echo chamber of just people who wanted to train with kettlebells, and then a coach who was kind of forcing it onto people, if you like. And I lived in this little bubble for quite a while. And then I moved to Sweatbox Gym, and I put myself around some really good coaches and guys who I still give a lot of credit to this day for kind of my coaching approach now, and guys who are just really warm and welcoming. The first thing I noticed was everyone in that gym was a hell of a lot stronger than me. Every single person. There might have been the odd lift. I could obviously outlift all of them with kettlebells, but there might have been the odd lift where maybe I could match someone on a little bit of chest press or something like that. But aside from that, they were fitter than me, they were stronger than me, and they were in better shape than me. And I walked into that gym, and the tunes were pumping, and just straight away you just felt this sense of like community and atmosphere, and that puts you straight away in the mindset of let's lift heavy shit. And I hit all my powerlifting PBs in that gym. I hit pretty much all of my lifting PBs in that gym, because I was in an environment and surrounded by people who were better than me, who were stronger than me, and who ultimately lifted me up, right? I was now the small fish in the big pond, as opposed to being the big fish in the small pond. And that taught me a hell of a lot going forward, just in life in general. It's the thing that inspired me to get business mentors. It's the thing that inspired me to get therapy when I needed it. It was essentially my key to understanding that being in rooms and in spaces with other people who are further ahead than you is the key to getting better, okay? It's the key to not falling for your own hype. And this relates to home training a lot, because not only when we train from home are we limited as to our budget and to our space, but we're also limited as to the atmosphere. And sure, we can create a little bit of a vibe for ourselves in a home gym. We can put our own music on or whatever. But I honestly find, as someone who is highly motivated to train, I just unlock new levels when I was around other people who were also doing the same but better than me, right? And these new levels completely changed the trajectory of my career. I got advice on things that I thought I was amazing at and I was actually really, really shit at. And just being there was a really massive, like, transformational experience for me. And since then, even now owning my own gym where I've got, a lot more equipment. We've got cables, we've got benches, we've got cardio equipment. We've got all sorts in the gym, but it's still pretty much a free weight gym. And naturally, me and Connor are the only PTs in there. So we are pretty much the two strongest and most knowledgeable guys in that gym. And so for me, it was really important to straight away be like, right, where can I go where I am the smallest, weakest person there, right? And that first led me down to Dedicated in Huyton, which I thought was a really good gym. Then it closed for renovations, and I then moved to the training station in Wavertree. And the vibe there, I always tell all of my clients, particularly the ones who are online, if they are local to it, to sign up and get in there. It's a bodybuilding gym. You can just hear the sound of the plates clanging and all these things. If you're not really a lifter, it might not sound like anything to you, but there's honestly just like that mindset switch that you'll have when you walk in there. It's the same as like when you walk into a refined restaurant and you're like, pin your shoulders back and try and be like a little bit more of a presence. The same thing happens, and I'm a big believer in the spaces that we are in, right? Because the spaces that we are in can either stifle or enhance our creativity. They can either help us by our own hype, or they can help us grow and lift ourselves to new levels. And for me, during lockdown, when I was training at home, I was not only training at home, but I was working from home and I was living from home. So those three things meant that I was not getting a change of scene whatsoever, okay? I wasn't having that mental shift. I wasn't going into a coffee shop to do my work where I knew I could sit down and focus away from the distractions of the house. I wasn't in the gym that I had right here in the front room thinking like, oh, I'll just interrupt that to go and answer the door. It's all these little things that over time snowball and accumulate and make a massive difference. And it's like that analogy, right, where you have like two lines and one line is like 0.5 degrees kind of more of on a slant than the other one. And as they move ahead, this one will just gradually move away and move away and move away, and to the point where like they've traveled a mile or so and one is completely down there and the other one is down there. That's how I kind of illustrate to my clients what the smallest shift and difference in either your habits, your space, your training, your nutrition, whatever that might be, can have on your actual results. The biggest, I would say, difference for me between training at home and training in a gym is not only the environment, but it's the access to equipment, right? If you can pay 20 or 30 pound a month for a gym that has tens of thousands of pounds worth of equipment, different classes, things like that they've got going on, you are going to save yourself a hell of a lot of money and a hell of a lot of space. Let's face it, we all don't live in houses where we can afford to give up a room to put kettlebells and stuff in. I was obviously very lucky in that regard that I was able to do that. But, some of us live in apartments. Some of us don't want our kettlebells out in our living room. Some of us want to use that space for other things. And some of us want to be able to get in a fucking Smith machine or a leg press once in a while. The difference in my results since I stopped training from home has been exponential, like absolutely otherworldly, to be honest with you. I lift heavier in every single department. I am in better shape in every single department. I'm more inspired to do different things because I joined a private gym that had a lot of equipment, and then went on to join commercial gyms as well. So this video certainly isn't to hate on home training. I think for some people it's a valid option. For some people it's the only option. I've got a client right now who I am training, and she's literally got what I would still say is a newborn baby, and she's been looking after him. And for her, she's literally swept off her feet and hasn't really had the time to get to a commercial gym. And so for her, home training is viable because it's the best available option. But if you have the option to be training in an environment that's full of killers, that's full of people who are better than you, you absolutely need to do that, okay? you're just simply not going to get the results from home that you are going to get when you have access to a variety of equipment. And it's for a couple of reasons. It's not only because we're able to train accessories better, or because we've got greater selection of weights and we can be a little bit more incremental, but it's also because of the motivation factor, right? People think when you train at home, you're going to be highly motivated to train because all your stuff's right there, but it's also just as easy to not train. It's just as easy to be distracted by work or by other things that are going on, or by your family or whatever. Whereas if you know, right, I'm getting in the car, I've packed my bag, I'm driving to the gym, you're in the fucking gym, right? You're not going to start a session and be like, I've done 10 minutes, I'll just fuck off and go to the kitchen and get some food. You're going to finish that session because you've made the effort to get out of the house and get into the gym. And so when I get this question about should I train from home, should I train in the gym, the answer is always train in a gym unless you are forced to train at home, okay? I felt like I needed to make this video. Sorry, I've got like fucking, don't know what's coming up, a pure turn in my neck like that. When you speak for a while, your mouth gets pretty fucking dry. But for me, training away from home is always a better option. I'm not a fan of working from home either. Like, I'm really not. I do a fair bit of my work from home, but I much prefer getting out somewhere else. I feel a hell of a lot more productive. I think your home should be a space that when you enter it, you switch off. Okay, when you enter it, you know that's your brain's mental cue that you walk through the door and it's time that you spend with your family. It's time that you're going to spend chilling or cooking or partaking in whatever hobby that you've got. Okay, you shouldn't have the association of both work and training and living all in one space. We should really strive to separate those spaces. And have you ever seen Severance, right? This would be like a really good analogy, but like when they've got the severed chip in their head, they will walk into work and their eyes go all wide, and all of a sudden it's like work mode is on, and then they walk out as soon as they come down the lift and their eyes go all wide again, and then work mode is off and they're back to home mode. That's kind of what we want. We want like a Severance-like effect when we enter different spaces. We need to find the spaces where we are the most productive in the thing that we are pursuing, and then we need to absolutely hammer them and make them kind of our mecca of where we go to lift, where we go to eat, where we go to work, whatever that may be. That's pretty much it for today. I just wanted to make this video purely because I was speaking to said client before about training in a commercial gym, and it really just inspired me to sit down and get off my chest why I think it's a really important thing for us to have that separation of spaces. So thank you all very much. As always, you probably know by now, I am a coach. I'm a pretty fucking successful coach, and I'm a pretty fucking good coach as well. And that's because I spend a hell of a lot of time investing in myself, investing time and energy into becoming better every single day. And if you want an insight into more of my work or what it's like to be one of my clients, you can click any of the links in the description below. There is also my free 3-pillar system that I have used to get hundreds of men in incredible shape. You can click the link below and that will be sent directly to you as well. So that is all for now. See you later.